While repairing the power lines in my parents' basement, the electrician turned pale and shaky. He muttered, "Grab your things and get out now. Don't say a word to your parents." I glanced down into the basement, horrified, and called the police instantly. I thought losing my dad when I was 10 ripped my world apart. I had no idea the real nightmare was still waiting for me, festering in the dark. It wasn't until an ordinary afternoon, when a simple power outage forced me into the forbidden basement of my childhood home, that I uncovered a secret so twisted, so utterly malicious, it made my blood run cold. What I saw down there didn't just expose my family's darkest lie, it revealed a horrifying plot that had been slowly, deliberately, trying to destroy me. Okay, so before we get to that nightmare, let me tell you a bit about how my life was already a mess. My name is Jacob Caldwell. I'm 24 now, just out of college, and for as long as I can remember, I felt like a forgotten puzzle piece in my own family. Just not quite fitting. My story really begins in this old craftsman house in Portland. Middle class, comfortable, but definitely not perfect. My dad, Samuel, he was a big man, loud voice, always busy with his construction company. He saw blueprints, contracts, big dreams, but he never really saw me. Or my mom, Monica. She was gentle, warm, the one who'd tell me fairy tales and stroke my hair during storms. But their marriage? It was a house built on sand. Beautiful from a distance, sure, but you just knew one big wave would bring it all down. I remember lying in bed at 10 years old, clutching my teddy bear, my heart twisting as their arguments echoed through the thin walls. Then, that wave hit. I was 10 when they divorced. I still see my mom, sitting on the sofa, a small suitcase at her feet, pulling me into this impossibly tight hug. "Jacob, you are everything to me," she whispered, her voice choked with tears. But the court, they didn't care about whispers or hugs. Dad had the stable job, the big house. So, custody went to him. Mom, with her part-time job, she didn't stand a chance. She left, moved in with my grandparents a few hours away. When that door closed behind her, it felt like a part of my own heart got ripped out. I just stood there, watching her disappear, wondering if I'd done something wrong. From that day on, I became this quiet, withdrawn kid. The world felt fragile. My dad? He was too busy rebuilding his own life to notice. I was just a minor detail. 2 years later, I was 12 and she arrived. Serena. My stepmother. Dad met her at a party and boom, married within months. She was way younger than him, maybe early 30s, with this perfectly glossy blonde hair and a smile that always felt like a costume. She was charming, yes, and she knew how to make my dad laugh, something I hadn't seen since Mom left. But her eyes were always cold. Like she was looking through me, not at me. "Jacob, are you okay?" she'd ask, and you just knew it was to fill the silence, not because she actually cared. And Dad? He changed, became totally dependent on her. She chose everything, schools for their kids, John and Lily, what to buy for dinner. John and Lily were born soon after. John was 12 years younger than me, Lily 14. They were adorable, I won't lie. John loved soccer, Lily would snuggle up during cartoons. But I was always an outsider. A ghost in my own home, walking through hallways that once echoed with my mother's laughter, now filled with this crushing sense of estrangement. The house itself, that beautiful craftsman, it started to feel different. Like a thick, invisible fog had settled in. And the basement? That's where the real unease lived. It was deep, dark, accessible by this old wooden staircase, and it always smelled like damp earth and rust, with water constantly seeping through the walls. Bone-chilling cold. Even as a kid, I was curious, but Serena forbade it. "It's dangerous, Jacob," she'd say, her voice soft but sharp as a knife. Not a place for kids. Dad never objected. And I, a 12-year-old boy desperate to avoid conflict, never dared to ask why. But every time I passed that door, I felt this prickle on my skin. Like something was waiting, lurking in the shadows. The next few years? Pure loneliness. I perfected the art of hiding emotions, smiling on command, nodding when Dad droned on about his company. Inside, I knew I didn't belong. My lifeline? Calls with my mom, Monica. She was my light in the dark. I'd tell her everything, school, dreams, the heartaches I couldn't share with anyone else. You're stronger than you think, Jacob, she'd say, her voice warm even through the phone. At least Dad didn't stop that. It was the only thing he got right. Those conversations were a balm for my soul, but they couldn't fill the gaping void the divorce left. I missed the old family dinners, Mom humming in the kitchen, Dad actually hugging me. Now it was Serena's perfect, silent domain. John and Lily would laugh, Dad would nod, and I'd just sit there, swallowing tasteless food, feeling like a ghost. Serena was a master at pushing me to the sidelines. I heard her once, talking to my dad in the kitchen. Jacob's grown up. He'll manage on his own. Her voice was soft, but the coldness, it cut me deep. Dad just mumbled, and I knew. He'd chosen her. My teenage years blurred. I buried myself in school, books, dreams of a future far away from that house. The moment I turned 18, I was off to college in Portland, living on my own. But even then, the memory of that house, especially the dark basement, lingered. It felt like a low hum of unease under my skin. I had no idea that hum was a prelude to the screeching horror that basement would reveal years later, shattering everything I thought I knew about my life. Now, here I am at 24, college degree in hand, living in a cramped Portland apartment. The smell of coffee from downstairs, the city noise, it's my world now. My mom, Monica, she's still my anchor. Sending me letters, a little money. You'll find your path, she writes. Those letters, in a small wooden box, remind me someone out there truly cares. My visits to her, a few hours' drive away, are the only times I feel like myself. No hiding, no bracing against the world. But with Dad and Serena, it's a tightrope walk. I keep my distance, only visiting the old house when John or Lily text. My relationship with Dad is a thread barely holding. And Serena? Still playing the perfect stepmom, all polite inquiries and calculated smiles. But the distance is a chasm. Then, a few months ago, things got weird. My body, it just stopped feeling like mine. Sudden, hammering headaches. Dizziness so bad the world would tilt. This bone-deep fatigue that no amount of sleep could fix. I'd always been healthy, never even caught a cold. So I went to doctors, scans, blood tests, everything. Stress from overwork, they said, prescribing supplements. I took them. Nothing changed. The exhaustion clung to me, a constant, invisible shadow. At the same time, Serena suddenly got attentive. Her calls came more often, her voice syrupy sweet. Jacob, it's been a while since you came home. Why don't you join us for dinner? It threw me. Part of me wanted to believe her, that after all these years, she finally wanted to connect. But every time I heard her, a cold chill ran down my spine. Something felt off. I couldn't explain it. But I started visiting anyway, partly for her invitations, mostly to see John and Lily. Dinners were in the same old dining room, warm yellow light, smells of food. But the food itself, it sometimes had an odd taste. Not spoiled, just a faint metallic, chemical undertone. I'd ask Serena about it. She'd just smile, oh, a new recipe. Dad, of course, was oblivious, glued to his phone. John and Lily were just kids laughing. I was the only one sitting there, feeling like I was swallowing unease with every single bite. That feeling intensified whenever I stayed overnight. I'd jolt awake to strange sounds from the basement. Clanging metal. Like someone dragging something heavy. And then this sharp, acrid smell, like incense mixed with chemicals, would seep through the crack under my door. My heart would pound. I'd creep out, but the hallway would be dark, silent. It felt like my imagination playing tricks. In the morning, the basement door was always locked tight. I asked Serena once, trying to be casual. It's nothing, Jacob, she said, her eyes flashing at me. Just for safety. Those visits drained me. The headaches got worse, splitting, blinding. The dizziness, the crushing fatigue. I started tracking symptoms, desperate to find a pattern. Was it just stress, as the doctor said? Or was something truly wrong? A vague, terrifying instinct started to take hold. Something was wrong in that house. In the meals. In Serena's glances. I tried to dismiss it, to tell myself I was just blowing my loneliness out of proportion, but the whisper in my mind insisted, "Be careful." I started making excuses, avoiding their dinner invitations. My heart would race just thinking about that house. One Saturday, while cleaning my apartment, I realized I'd left some university documents and an old camera at my dad's house. I knew the family was away on a trip, the house empty. I hesitated, but figured I'd just grab my stuff and leave. The Portland sky was gray, threatening rain. As I pulled up to the Craftsman house, it was eerily silent. No Lily's laughter, no Dad's grumbling, no Serena's saccharine voice. They were on vacation. And I, of course, hadn't been invited. A familiar pang of hurt, but I tried to push it away. I let myself in with a spare key. The house was dead quiet. I went in my old room, found my things. But then my eyes landed on a framed photo on the shelf. Dad, Serena, John, Lily. All beaming. I wasn't in it. A cold, sharp chill shot down my spine. Years of being an afterthought, of being pushed to the margins, it all came crashing back. I shoved my stuff in my bag, ready to bolt. That's when the lights flickered. Then, click. The whole house plunged into darkness. My heart hammered. No storm, no lightning. Just a system failure. I checked the breaker panel. Nothing. I couldn't just leave the house like this. I found a local electrician, Mike, online. He promised to be right over. 15 minutes later, Mike, a middle-aged guy with a gruff, warm voice, was there. He checked the breaker. Main system issue, he said. Where's the main electrical box? I pointed to the basement door. My heart started to race. Down there, I mumbled, but I don't go down often. Mike raised an eyebrow, sizing up the shiny, formidable lock. Locked up this tight? Got treasure down there or something, he joked. I could only manage a weak smile. Serena's voice echoed in my head. It's dangerous, Jacob. Don't go down there. As a kid, I'd obeyed, just to avoid a scene. But now, standing before that door, a cold shiver went through me. Something was deeply wrong, and I knew I couldn't avoid it anymore. Should we wait for my dad? I asked, my voice trembling. He might know more. Mike shrugged. You can wait, but this house will be dark for days. I just need to check the box. Won't take long. He was right. I had to face this. I took a deep breath. All right. I'll come with you. Mike pulled out heavy-duty bolt cutters. The grating sound of metal on metal as he twisted the lock made goosebumps explode on my skin. Crack. The lock snapped. The basement door groaned open, like a long-imprisoned whale. A wave of cold, musty air rushed out. But it wasn't just must. There was something else. A sharp, acrid smell. Like dried blood blended with burning incense. My throat tightened. Every hair on my arms stood on end. Step by agonizing step, we descended. The thin beam of Mike's flashlight was swallowed by the thick, suffocating darkness. He swept it around the concrete walls, the dusty shelves. Electrical box must be around here, he muttered, but his voice was trembling. He felt it too. The wrongness. My own flashlight beam landed on a rough wooden table in a corner. It was covered with a black cloth. On it were half-burned black candles, wax dripping down like dried tears. And in the center? A small glass jar, filled with a dark, glinting red liquid. My heart slammed against my ribs. I stepped closer. The smell was unmistakable. Blood. Next to the jar, a crude cloth doll, no bigger than my hand. It was pierced with rusted pins. And stitched onto its fabric face in crude red thread was a name. Jacob. My breath hitched. The air in the room just tightened. Good God, Mike whispered, his light frozen. I turned. His face was ghostly pale. What the hell is this? I could only nod. Words failed me. There was also a small wooden box, open, filled with tiny, milky white animal bones and charred paper talismans covered in bizarre symbols. My head spun. This was a nightmare. I swung my light to the wall and my heart stopped dead. It was my photo. An old one from college, a picnic, me smiling, carefree, naive. Someone had drawn a crude red circle around my face, surrounded by more strange symbols. On a nearby shelf, an open notebook lay sprawled, my name, Jacob Caldwell, scrawled over and over, like a relentless curse. You need to call the police, Jacob, Mike gasped, his voice barely a whisper. This isn't normal. I've never seen anything like this. He backed away, eyes wide with terror. I couldn't speak. But suddenly, every disjointed piece of my life clicked. The headaches. The dizziness. The inexplicable fatigue. They weren't random. The metallic taste in the food at Dad's house. Serena's probing gaze, like she was assessing me. The noises from the basement at night. The times I'd seen her slip down here when everyone else was asleep. All those details I dismissed as imagination, as paranoia, they were terrifyingly real. Serena. My stepmother. She wasn't just distant. She was doing something far, far more sinister. A dark ritual. A curse. A deliberate plot to destroy me. I stood there, frozen, phone trembling in my hand, my heart trying to break free from my chest. I wasn't just the abandoned son, pushed to the edges of the family picture. I was the target. Of something dark, malevolent, incomprehensible. I stared at that cloth doll with my name stitched into it, and it felt like someone was squeezing my own heart. Why? Why did Serena want to destroy me? And Dad, did he know? Was he part of this twisted scheme? I pulled out my phone, switched on the camera, and started snapping pictures of everything. The candles, the blood-filled jar, the doll, my circled photo, the notebook. Each shot was evidence. A way to preserve the truth before it could be erased. I didn't know what I'd do with them, but I knew I had to act. I couldn't let fear paralyze me. Jacob, we need to get out of here. Mike urged, his voice frantic. It's not safe. I nodded, but my feet were glued to the floor. Why do they want to destroy me? The question screamed in my mind. My father, who'd become a stranger. Serena, with her fake smiles and cold eyes. John and Lily, innocent kids, completely unaware of the darkness in their home. I turned, and we climbed the stairs, each step heavy, like I was dragging the weight of the entire world behind me. Mike followed, silent. When we finally emerged, I closed the basement door, but the dread clung to me like a shroud. I'd just uncovered a secret I couldn't unsee. That craftsman house, once my home, now felt like a trap. And I was the prey. I stared at my phone, the horrifying photos blazing on the screen. My legs were shaking so hard I thought I'd collapse. Mike, pale and clutching his toolbox, echoed my thoughts. Jacob, call the police. Now. My hands trembled, but I managed to dial 911. The dispatcher, calm and steady, listened as I stammered out what I'd found. A cult, I said. Dangerous. Mike took the phone, his voice surprisingly firm. I'm the electrician. He's not exaggerating. Everything down here is very wrong. You need to send someone now. His urgency cut through the usual protocol. They told us to wait outside. Mike and I stood in the drizzle, the photos on my phone a tangible link to the madness. Less than 20 minutes later, a police car pulled up. Officers Harris and Lopez, sharp and watchful. You're Jacob Caldwell? Harris asked, hand near his gun. Yes, I said, trying to steady my voice. There's something in the basement. Something really strange. They were skeptical, you know? A doll with my name, blood symbols. It sounded like a bad horror movie. Could be a prank, Harris said. Or weird art. My blood boiled. This isn't a prank. I'm not imagining this. Please, just go down there. Lopez gave Harris a nod. All right, lead the way. Back down we went, the musty, acrid smell hitting me again. My flashlight beam cut through the darkness, landing on the black-draped table. Harris and Lopez swept their lights around. I watched their faces. Skepticism melting into shock. Harris muttered, Jesus. Lopez moved closer, her eyes on the blood jar, then my photo. The doubt was gone. This isn't a prank, she said, voice grave. We need to seal this place off. Harris was already on his radio, calling for backup. My world felt like it was crumbling. But also, a strange, terrible validation. This wasn't my imagination. Something horrific was happening in my childhood home. Soon, the house was swarming with an investigative team. Cameras flashing, evidence bags, equipment I couldn't even name. Detective Carter, a tall, serious officer, pulled me aside. I recounted everything: the headaches, the dizziness, the strange food, Serena's icy glances, the noises from the basement. He took careful notes. "Do you think anyone in your family is involved?" he asked, his eyes sharp. I hesitated. "Serena, definitely," I said, my voice trembling. "And my dad? I'm not sure he's entirely innocent." Carter promised a thorough investigation. They sealed the basement with yellow tape. As the police cars left, I stood in the rain, a strange mix of relief that someone finally believed me, and dread for the gruesome truth that was about to unravel. My family wasn't just broken, it was steeped in darkness, and I was at its horrifying center. That night, I drove straight to my mother's house. When I told her everything, showed her the photos, her initial worry turned to disbelief, then horror. My stoic grandpa shook his head, muttering, "I've never seen anything like this." Mom pulled me into a hug, tears streaming down her face. "My boy," she choked out. My heart ached, but being in her arms, it started to mend something. Days bled into restless nights. The images from the basement haunted my every waking and sleeping moment. The doll, the blood, the symbols. I was constantly checking my phone, waiting for Carter's call. The investigation was underway, but the suspense was agonizing. Then, one morning, his call came. "Jacob, you need to come to your father's house. Now. Your family just returned. We need you here for a confrontation." My heart pounded. "I'll be right there." Mom offered to come, but I shook my head. "I have to do this alone." She hugged me, a desperate transfer of strength. The drive felt like forever, the gray Portland sky mirroring my dread. Dad's car was there, bags strewn around. They were back. I could already hear him, enraged, screaming, "Who dared put police tape on my house?" I walked in. The living room was electric with tension. Dad was red-faced, phone in hand. Serena, deceptively calm, her blonde hair perfect, but I saw her eyes flicker when she saw me. John and Lily huddled, looking small and terrified. "Jacob, what the hell is going on?" Dad demanded. Serena cut in, her voice like ice. "Richard, I've already called the police. This is a mistake." Just then, sirens wailed. Carter, Harris, Lopez, and a whole team walked in. "Mr. and Mrs. Caldwell, we need your cooperation." Serena, ever the actress, forced a stiff smile. "A misunderstanding, officer. We know nothing." Dad just nodded. "Exactly. I want an explanation." Carter didn't answer them. He looked at me. "Jacob, tell us what you saw." I took a deep breath. Every eye, every accusation, every fear. I looked Serena dead in the eye and recounted every single horrifying detail of that basement. The room went silent. Dad's face darkened. Serena froze, then tried to compose herself. "Jacob, are you making this up for attention?" Dad snapped. "This isn't a prank." I pulled out my phone, showed Carter the pictures, and he held it up for them both to see. "This is what we found," he stated. "We need an explanation." Serena let out a dry, unnatural laugh. "Officer, these are just spiritual items. Prayers for family safety. Nothing dangerous." She turned to me, eyes cold, that sickeningly sweet smile on her face. "Jacob, you've misunderstood. I'd never hurt you." I saw red. I stepped forward, my voice shaking, but every word carved from my chest. "You're lying. What did you do to me? The headaches, the fatigue, the metallic taste in the food, it was you, wasn't it? You wanted me to waste away." "Jacob, that's enough." Dad roared. "You don't talk to your stepmother like that." But I didn't stop. I looked him straight in the eyes, utterly fearless for the first time. "Did you know about this, Dad? Or are you part of it too?" My voice was low, sharp. He froze, eyes flickering, but he said nothing. Carter intervened, calling for calm. "Mr. and Mrs. Caldwell, we have clear evidence of a ritualistic setup targeting Jacob. This is not a joke. Explain, or we'll proceed." Serena spiraled, frantic denials, but her eyes, wide with panic, betrayed her. Dad stood silent, his hands clenched. I looked at him, praying he'd defend me, but he just lowered his head. Mute. More sirens. Another team came in with an arrest warrant. Carter's voice was cold steel. Samuel Caldwell. Serena Caldwell. You are under arrest for conspiracy to commit premeditated murder. Serena shrieked, struggling, denying everything. Dad was pale, silent. As they cuffed them, I heard sobbing. John and Lily. Red-eyed and terrified. Lily ran to me, burying her face in my chest. Jacob, what's happening? My heart broke. John stood, fists clenched, pain in his eyes. As the police led them out, Serena shot me a glance, venomous, stripped of all pretense. Dad never looked back. My heart was crushed, yet a strange wave of relief washed over me. The perfect family facade was shattered, revealing something truly rotten. I stood in the drizzling rain, watching the flashing lights disappear. Carter put a hand on my shoulder. You did well, Jacob. We'll be in touch. The truth was out, but it left a gaping void. Part loss, part freedom. A few days later, Carter called again. Jacob, we found some documents. They concern you. Meet with Mr. Collins, the family lawyer. A chill ran through me. More secrets? Mr. Collins's office was warm, but his kind smile couldn't hide the gravity in his eyes. He opened a thick file. Jacob, what I'm about to tell you, it's hard. But you need to know. He pushed the file across the desk, revealing my grandparents' signatures. This is a trust fund, established by your grandparents, Henry and Eleanor Caldwell. $2 million in your name. You inherit it fully at 25. $2 million. I was stunned. Why didn't I know? He sighed. All documents were sent to your legal guardian, your father, Samuel. He's known for years. It hit me like a physical blow. Dad knew. Serena must have known. And then, like the final, horrifying piece of a puzzle snapping into place, it all made sense. Everything. They wanted me dead. If I was gone, that money would go to my father. And Serena, with her cunning, would find a way to claim it. Anger, white-hot and searing, surged through me. My father, the man who once carried me on his shoulders, who taught me to tie his shoes, had chosen money over me. Serena, with her fake smiles, had made me a target. My heart felt like it was tearing apart. But through the pain, a cold clarity settled. All those years of loneliness, of feeling like I didn't belong, it wasn't just in my head. It was calculated. Leaving Mr. Collins's office, clutching the documents, my heart was a storm. I stopped at a park, sat on a bench, and memories flooded back. My grandparents. Grandpa Henry, with his warm voice, teaching me to tie knots, to be honest. Live in a way you're never ashamed of yourself. Grandma Eleanor, gentle as a breeze, singing old folk songs, comforting me after the divorce. They were gone, taken by stroke a year apart, leaving a void. But now I realize they had never truly left me. This $2 million? It wasn't just money. It was their love, their final shield. And, oh, the bitter irony. That same love had become the reason my father and Serena wanted to destroy me. Pain, gratitude, betrayal. My grandparents, even in death, had protected me. I vowed right then, I would live worthy of that legacy. That evening, back in my apartment, I found an old photo album my mom had sent. A picture of me, 8 years old, beaming between my grandparents at a picnic. I touched it, feeling their warmth. I'll live worthy of this legacy, I whispered, my voice choked. I won't let greed ruin what you believed in me. The months that followed were a blur of court hearings and sensational headlines. The Caldwell family murder plot. Greed and horrifying secrets in the basement. Each headline twisted a knife in my gut. I didn't attend every session, couldn't bear to face them, but Carter kept me updated. The photos, the blood, animal, thankfully, the occult symbols, all presented. My testimony, Mike's, Mr. Collins's, it painted a damning picture. Serena, the mastermind. Dad, guilty of complicity. He knew. He failed to stop her. Then, the sentencing. Carter called. Jacob, the court has reached a verdict. Samuel Caldwell, 25 years. Serena Caldwell, 30 years for conspiracy to commit murder. 25 years. 30 years. The numbers echoed, hollow. No triumph. Just a deep, profound sadness. My father's pride, The Caldwell name, now a stain. I hung up, sank into my chair, watching the rain fall, as if trying to wash away the past. Slowly, I began to rebuild. I found a part-time job at a counseling center, started grad school. The headaches, the dizziness, they faded, as if my body knew the threat was gone. I stayed in touch with John and Lily, but the pain in their eyes, the unbridgeable distance, it was heartbreaking. I tried to be there, but I knew they were struggling. My 25th birthday arrived, 2 years after that horrific discovery. No big celebration. Just Mom and my grandparents at their house. Freshly baked cookies, a simple chocolate cake. Mom hugged me, her eyes shining. "You've really grown up," she whispered. We laughed, shared old stories. But I knew this wasn't just a birthday. It was the beginning of a new chapter, finally free from the crushing weight of the past. The next morning, Mr. Collins called. I knew. When I walked into his office, he greeted me with that kind smile. On his desk, a new file and a pale yellow envelope. "Jacob," he said warmly, "today is the day. The $2 million, all yours." He explained the legalities, but I barely heard him. My mind was back in my grandparents' garden. Then he handed me the envelope. "This is from them," he said. "They wrote it before they passed, to be given to you at 25. My hands trembled as I took it. Grandma's elegant handwriting spelled my name. "Thank you," I choked out, emotions overwhelming me. "For everything." That afternoon, in a park under vibrant red maple trees, I opened it. Their words came alive. "Dear Jacob, you are our greatest joy. No matter what, you are stronger than you know. We left this trust not just for a better life, but so you can live true to your heart. Live kindly, honestly, and never let darkness dim the light inside you. Love you forever, Grandpa Henry and Grandma Eleanor." Tears streamed down my face, but I smiled. A sense of release, of coming home. Not to that craftsman house, but to a home within my own heart. My grandparents, gone, but still with me, guiding me. A few weeks after my 25th birthday, a letter arrived. Oregon State Penitentiary. My father's cramped handwriting. My heart hammered. "Jacob, I know you don't want to see me, but I need to talk to you one last time as your father. Please let me see you. You're still my son. Father." The word felt foreign, like a ghost. I reread it, each word a needle. All those years of indifference. Him choosing work, choosing Serena over me. The basement. The doll. The money they were willing to kill me for. Part of me wanted to tear it up, burn it, erase him. But another part, a stronger part, urged me to face him. Not for reconciliation, but to close the chapter myself. I needed to break these chains. I spent sleepless nights. Did I have the strength? Yes. Not for him, but for me. The next morning, I drove to that gray fortress of walls and barbed wire. Through security, into a cold, metallic world. The visitation room was small, white, a thick glass pane separating worlds. I sat, hands clasped, trying to calm my pounding heart. The door opened, and in walked a man I barely recognized. Samuel Caldwell. Once so commanding, now haggard, gray, gaunt. Orange uniform, cuffed hands, clinging to a shred of dignity. He picked up the phone. "Jacob," he said, his voice weak. "Thank you for coming." I just stared. "What do you want from me?" My voice was colder than I intended. He tried a weak smile. I wanted to talk. To say I never meant to hurt you. I let things go too far." His voice faltered. I felt nothing. His words were hollow, a bad script. "You knew about the trust fund," I stated, locking eyes with him. "You knew what Serena was doing. And you didn't stop her." He bowed his head, eyes red. No denial. "I was wrong, Jacob," he whispered. "I got caught up. Ambition. Serena. I thought she was doing what was best for the family." I let out a dry, humorless laugh. "Family? You call that a family? You chose her. You chose money over me." He couldn't meet my gaze. Then, the door opened again. Serena. My blood ran cold. Her glossy blonde hair was disheveled, her face harsh, stripped of its polished mask. Her eyes, cold and venomous, locked onto mine. She picked up the phone, her voice still trying for that fake sweetness. Jacob, you've misunderstood. The things in the basement, they were just spiritual rituals. I never meant to hurt you. My gaze was unwavering. Don't call me your son, I said, low and sharp. You tried to kill me, Serena. Stop lying. She stiffened, lips trembling, her eyes burning with resentment, as if she hated me for ruining her plans. You don't understand, she muttered, her voice finally cracking. I stood up, putting the phone down gently. I didn't come here for excuses, I said, looking from my father to her. I came to say, I'm done with you both. This family died a long time ago. I'm not your son anymore. I'm not your family. My voice was firm, resolute. I'm choosing my own life. And there's no place in it for either of you. I turned and walked out. I heard my father call my name, his voice breaking. I didn't stop. Stepping out into the crisp, free air, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders, a burden I'd carried for years. That prison door closing behind me, it was also closing on my past. I was no longer chained by the memories of my father, Serena, or that dark craftsman house. Ahead was an open road. For the first time, I felt truly, completely free. From that day, I severed all contact. No letters, no calls. They became a scar, a part of my story, but no longer my definition. I poured myself into my dream, becoming a counselor, helping kids from broken homes find their own light. Graduate school. Long nights studying, working part-time. My grandparents' letter, tucked into my notebook, was my constant strength. Live true to your heart. I was determined to do just that. The $2 million trust fund was a responsibility I took seriously. It covered my tuition, my living, allowing me to focus. I invested a portion. And I established the Henry and Eleanor Fund, a small charity to support children like me who grew up without a full sense of home. Each thank you letter I received, it felt like an extension of my grandparents' love. With the remaining funds, I bought a modest house in Portland. Not the old Craftsman, but a cozy place with big windows and a small garden. I painted the walls, filled it with photos of my mother, my grandparents, my real family. And then, one afternoon, I made a call. Mom, I said, hesitant, hopeful, I want you to move in with me. I want this to be our home. A pause. Then, her laugh, tinged with tears. Jacob, my boy, she whispered, I'll be there. She moved in, bringing her stories, her cooking, her quiet presence. For the first time in years, I had a family bound not just by blood, but by unwavering love. Inner peace finally found me. The nightmares of the basement, the doll, the blood, they faded. I stopped waking in terror. I found joy in simple things. Coffee with Mom, a challenging class, helping a child at the center. My grandparents' memory became my guiding light. Their love, in that letter, in those old photos, reminded me that true love exists. Not from Samuel or Serena, but from those who choose to love unconditionally. I learned lessons no classroom could teach. Blood doesn't always mean love. My father, once my world, chose greed. Serena taught me that family isn't about shared DNA, but about feeling safe, truly loved. I learned to let go of hatred, not for them, but for me. To forgive, not to erase what they did, but to set myself free. My journey settled into a quiet close one afternoon, sitting in my garden, watching wildflowers sway. I thought of the boy I was, frightened, alone, believing he was unworthy. He had grown up. He carried scars, yes, but also a new belief. The past leaves its marks, but it does not dictate the future. I smiled, breathed in the fresh air, and felt a new beginning. Not loud, not showy, but brimming with fierce, quiet hope. My story didn't end with fanfare. It ended in stillness. Birdsong. Sunlight through the leaves. In that moment, I found myself. Not the abandoned son, not the target, but Jacob Caldwell. A man ready to live with an open heart, despite the darkness that once tried to consume me. And as I reflect on all this, it makes me wonder. What would you have done if you found out your own family was trying to destroy you for money? Have any of you ever had to cut ties with someone you loved, even family, because they proved themselves to be something you just couldn't live with? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'm genuinely curious to hear your perspectives.